It's been a while since I filmed anything. I've been delayed because the my steel is in the shop. It broke down. Probably my fault. I mean, I'll know for sure. I'm still new to running these things, but yeah, it broke down, so it would idle but not run, and it was smoking. So I had to take it into the shop to be repaired. In the meantime, I just bought another a spare chainsaw because I had to get these trees down. So let me go ahead and explain what we're looking at here. I've cleared out enough for the wall tent to fit once that tree's out of the way. But here's the problem: is these trees scare me. They're leaning heavily towards the tent, and if it turns out that they need to be taken out, that they're showing signs that they're going to fall. Once the tent's up, then it's kind of hard to fell. You gotta take the tent back down in order to fell them. So I want to go ahead and fell them right now and get that out of the way, because it's just, especially this big one here, this one here, and it's hard to tell from the camera angle, but they are leaning heavily in my direction. So, and then also this stump here is in the way. I had a neighbor talk to me about it, and he said that these particular trees, if you leave the stump, they just start sprouting more trees from the stump. So, so he recommended a waffle cut with the chainsaw, and to fill it with kerosene and then light it on fire. But I'm not going to do that, but I will do the waffle cut. But I'm going to go ahead and use Epsom salt instead of kerosene, because Epsom salt is pretty effective. You just pour it in between the cuts or the holes, or whatever you have going. You just pour in the Epsom salt and it does the work. I mean, it absorbs all the water and kills whatever's left of it. So in the meantime, I went ahead and started assembling a wood pile from the logs that I've already harvested. And those won't be any good this winter. They're too green, but by next winter, they should be fine. So that's where we're at. I'm going to go ahead and assemble my chainsaw and my replacement chainsaw. So I'm going to have a spare chainsaw, which is cool. I guess it's good to have two chainsaws rather than one while the steel is being repaired. And we're going to get. Okay, this is a familiar sight to anyone who's chopped down enough trees. The blade is pinched. So basically, the tree looked like it was going to fall one direction, and I misjudged. Put my face cut there, and then when I came in from behind, the tree pulled backwards and sat on the blade. So when this happens, the only thing I can do is go ahead and disconnect this from the bar and chain, and get a new bar and chain and put it on, and then come at it again with the new bar and chain, being careful not to hit this one when I'm making my new cut. So that's what I'm going to be doing right now. All right, so I am disconnected. I went back to the hardware store, got a new bar and chain, got that installed. And so with that chain, what I had to do was take a pair of bolt cutters and cut it off, because it doesn't come off the sprocket. No, there's something in the way of it coming off the sprocket. So anyway, I do have to be very careful, not only to not hit the old bar, but also when a tree falls in the opposite direction of the face cut, the way that it was intended to fall, um, it can do something very dangerous called a say barber chair, or yeah, I think it's called a barber chair. But basically, it can actually decapitate someone. So I'm going to be very careful when it starts to fall. I'm going to get well out of the way because this tree at this point, with the way that it's going to fall, could hurt or kill me. And we will go ahead and get to it. All right, so this is an example of the unpredictability when you have a tree not fall in the direction you intended. So, and I was hoping it would fall that way. It's falling this way. It most certainly is going to crash right into my wood pile uh, as soon as it's allowed to fall. So I got to take this tree out here because this tree is holding it up, as you can see. And then when that happens, no doubt about it, it's going to fall right on that wood pile. May not be a bad thing. It may actually help with processing. We'll have to see. But that's where we're at right now. Obviously, the old bar is free. This is the adventures, especially when I'm a complete amateur at this. All right, so this hasn't improved the situation. I've went ahead and cut down that tree, watching this one very, very closely as I did it. As it turns out, this tree wasn't holding it up at all, this smaller one. It's being held up way up there against these surrounding trees. So as you can see, that's where it's caught up, and that's where it's being held and kept from falling. While I was gone at lunch, to show you what happened here, the tree fell on its own accord and brought down the other tree that was hung up too. Well, it's still a little bit hung up, but and it missed the wood pile, which I didn't think it was going to miss. So yeah, we're in good shape here. So I'm going to go ahead and start getting these processed. So that was amazing how the trees just came down like that while I was on lunch break. I was really dreading the risks I would have to take in order to cut down more trees that those trees were leaning on. So I think it's incredible. I have part of that tree processed already. It did remind me of a story of Where the Red Fern Grows, the book. And in that book, you know, of course, it's about a boy who got two coon hounds. And, you know, he goes on his first coon hunt with his newly trained coon hounds. And he makes them a promise. And he says, if you get them up a tree, I will do the rest. So sure enough, they find a raccoon, these two coon hounds, and they tree this raccoon. And this tree happens to be about the thickest, biggest sycamore tree in the entire forest. I mean, it's a huge tree, and the raccoons are safely nestled up there. Boy could not break his promise to his dogs. He would rather die than. He said that if they do their part, that he would do his part, and he would bring the tree down so that they could get him. So he goes at it with an axe, and he's just whacking away this tree, and he's at it for hours and hours. His family comes and brings lunch out to him while he's cutting away at this tree, and it takes actually I think it's more than a day, and he spent the night there, if I remember right. He spent the night at the tree, and and then he kept going at it, and he got to the point where there was absolutely no strength left in his body, and he was crying because he was breaking his promise, but his body was failing him, and there's nothing else he could do. So, he says a short prayer, saying, God, haven't I done everything I can? Something to that effect. And and the tree is almost all the way cut down, but he cannot take another whack at it. So the tree is not cut down yet. Uh, he's despondent because there's nothing more he can do. Then a strong wind comes through the forest and pushes that tree down. And it's such a testimony of how God works in our lives, that we do all that we can, and I don't mean half measures. I mean leaving it all on the field, doing absolutely everything we possibly can, and then God meets us there, and God performs a miracle when God sees our heart. So it just reminded me, and me cutting down that tree with a chainsaw isn't nearly the same thing, but I was just struck by the miraculous nature of how it came down while I was on my lunch break. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you.